Boundaries for me was always something that was scary. It was something that I was intruding on somebody, telling somebody else what to do. And I was like controlling somebody. That's what boundaries were subconsciously in my head. And I realized at that moment, no, boundaries are an act of love, and they are an act of taking care of yourself, and they're not telling other people what to do. And fighting requires great boundaries. You have to have great boundaries to have good, productive fights. And so the rules that I have with boundary are easy. There's two of them. One of them is, as soon as you draw the boundary, no matter what the response is, it needs to make you feel more love for the other person. So boundaries aren't like a defensive no. It's going to open my heart. It's going to allow me to feel more free. It's going to actually acknowledge my freedom, and I can love you better. And the second thing is it's going to not tell the other person what they need to do. It's going to be telling them what you're going to do under certain circumstances. It's when you do X, I'm going to do Y. And the why isn't going to be, I am going to do something that hurts you. It is, or I'm going to do something that controls you. It's, I am going to go and take care of myself. So when you're guilt tripping me, I'm going to leave. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Or if you're guilt tripping me, I'm going to leave. And as soon as you call me and tell me that we can have a conversation without guilt, I'm happy to come back. And so if you follow those two rules, it makes your heart open no matter what their response is going to be. And that's an important part, is no matter what their response is going to be. Because what happens when you draw a boundary is you go, I'm going to draw this boundary, and you get scared of the response. Because if you have to draw a boundary as a new thing, if it's a new boundary that you're drawing, it's automatically true that you do not feel okay drawing the boundary. You think that maybe you shouldn't draw this boundary. Like maybe you should just put up with it. Maybe you should put up with the gaslighting. Maybe you should put up with the guilt. I can't say no to my mom guilt tripping me. I can't say no to my mom criticizing. I can't say no to somebody yelling at me. And so if you're going to draw the boundary, you're going to get really defensive. You're going to be like ready for the fight, which invites the fight. Like if I draw a boundary with you and I'm like, if you get angry at me, I'm going to leave. That is going to invite a fight where it's like, I don't want to be with your anger, so I'm happy to leave when you get angry, and I'm happy to come back as soon as you're ready to have the conversation without yelling at me. So it's going to be a whole different interaction if you can draw it with that open heart. So it's really critical that whatever boundary you draw, it opens your heart, and that you're not telling the other person what to do, because then you're in a control game with them. And instead, you're saying, this is what I'm going to do, because I have agency, I have my own empowerment, and I'm free, I can do the thing that I want to do. And so that's the critical piece of the boundary. As far as that other piece that I think is really important, is that the boundary drawing isn't really for the other person. It's for you. So for instance, you're at a job, and you have to say to your boss, like, no, you don't yell at me, but there's somebody else that the boss never yells at. It's like, what's going on there? Why is it that the thing that the boss does to you, they're not doing to everybody? It's because in that person's mind, it's very clear that like, no, I'm not going to get yelled at by the boss. Maybe the boss yelled at them one point and said, hey, don't do that. Or maybe the boss yelled at them at one point and they were like, wow, looks like you're feeling way out of control on this one. And the boss was like, oh. But the boss is yelling at you because there's something in you that thinks that it's okay. Because as soon as you know, like, oh, I'm not going to put up with that kind of behavior, then there's nothing in you that has to like fight or defend. And it's less likely for that behavior to come at you. So the boundary is mostly about you learning for yourself that something's not okay. And you're drawing it externally is learning that in a real concrete way. It's like learning how to like fix an engine. You need to get your hands dirty. Learning how to draw boundaries and what's actually the right boundary for you, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. And so it's really important to see boundaries not really even about them. It's really all about you learning what works for you and being okay, saying like, hey, I am okay. If you need to pull your love away from me because I'm going to take care of myself, then that's what's going to need to be the case. And that opens up your life to people who are ready to treat you in the way that you actually want to be treated.